Talked to James earlier. I'm now recording with my dear pal Steven. Steven, so we talked last week, it was a week ago today, about the Auburn coaching search. I waited till Monday to post it. I was worried that Auburn would hire someone, and fortunately they held off 2 days. But it sounds official. No, it is official because he's changed his Twitter profile, and Auburn has announced it on Twitter. Auburn hires Bryan Harsin. I want to know your thoughts before I get into it.
So, initially, my first thought was, who the hell is this guy? And then I took a step back. I was like, okay, Boise State. My initial thoughts were, this dude has won everywhere he's been. It's hard to overlook the success that Boise State has. But the worrisome part of it is that he's having all this success where in a conference where he is the top dog. I mean, he is, that program is far and away the best program in that conference. So it'll be interesting to see what transpires when he is not the hunted anymore. He's more of the hunter. In the SEC, we talked about Auburn. You can make an argument is anywhere from 2 to 6 or 5 or 6 in the SEC. So he's not going to be that that top dog anymore. He's going to be the guy that's going to be not necessarily a scrappy upstart, but like he's not the top dog anymore. So it'll be, I did a little bit of looking into like what his philosophy is and, what kind of offense he runs, what kind of defenses he likes to run. I think he'll be a good fit. But the main thing is he's won everywhere he's been. And the big thing I like about it is that it wasn't a typical Auburn hire. We talked a lot about last week where Auburn has this tendency to hire people that we know, people that have either coached here before or coached in the conference or coached, went to Auburn or, whatever the case may be. So this is totally different from that. This is way outside the footprint. This is somebody that has no ties to Auburn or the SEC. This is just going out there and getting maybe the best fit or the best, maybe not the best possible hire, but, getting your guy. So I like it. After sitting with it for about 18 hours, however long it's been, I like the hire.
Yeah. When you factor in, honestly, that the way this coaching search has gone for Auburn, and you have really complained about it the last, 48 to 72 hours. I remember you going on Twitter and even saying, just mail it in. This is a horrible look. Considering that he was probably maybe even as low as the 8th guy, that they, was their guy. I think it's a really good hire. I'm a big Bryan Harsin guy. He's been very successful at Boise State, and I know William shat on me in our group text that it's Boise State. Mm-hmm. I'm like, look, he won every year, but this year in his second year at Boise State, he's won at least 10 games. I mean, I'm a big believer that football is football.
Football doesn't change. I mean, the only thing that changes about football is the talent level at different levels. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Obviously, he's going to be taking a step up in who he's competing against. But if you can coach, you can coach. Yeah. You can coach Pee Wee or you can coach the NFL. Like, if you're a good coach, that will shine through no matter how good or bad your players are. Yeah. So, I mean, William doesn't know a whole lot, and he just likes to talk. So, I take everything William.
Hey, he's the jackass who wanted to hire Don Brown from Michigan, the old fart. Yeah. Now, granted, he's a good defensive coordinator, I think, but
currently unemployed Don Brown.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's.
I think after he said that, you even begged me, like you in our group text, you were like, Shane, please talk some sense into this guy.
Please take this. I don't want to deal with this anymore.
But no, I mean,
because
I was just
like
saying.
the hire a lot.
Yeah, we go from Kevin Steele to he's no longer a candidate. Then it was I even forget Billy Napier. Then it was Bill Clark. It was
Billy Napier, Bill Clark. Neil Brown was the leader in the
I don't think he was ever involved.
There was the thing about it is like, and this has kind of come out online and on message boards and Twitter and wherever else this bullshit comes out, is that there's a pretty decent chance that a lot of the stuff that was reported or sources had, it was just either made up.
I do. I mean, it happens with every search. It even happened with WVU. I remember Brett McMurphy broke news, when Dana Holgerson left, that West Virginia was targeting, I think it was Bronco Mendenhall at Virginia and Dave Clawson at Wake Forest, and I was kind of like, Dave Clawson, I was like, Bronco Mendenhall, I don't hate. And then I don't even think those guys interviewed, because the interviewees came down to Neil Brown, Luke Fickell, and Tony Gibson. And we went with Neil Brown, allegedly. I don't know if Luke Fickell actually interviewed or not, but that was what was alleged. Right. And I think there were names like that floated around. Neil Brown might have been mentioned. I'm not sure he was ever really a candidate.
Yeah, there was just so much.
Going by the way he talked to our athletic director, he was never a candidate.
Right, yeah. And I think that may be the case with a guy like Lane Kiffin's name was floated around a lot as saying, like,
that's another one too. He wasn't a candidate.
I don't know if I believe that anymore. Yeah. I don't know why Hugh Freeze was floated out. I'm not sure if
that one I do believe a little bit.
I mean, there was just so many names that may or may not have been the case. I mean, Bill Clark went on a radio show today in Birmingham and said, yeah, I talked to him once. They weren't going to let me hire the staff that I wanted, so it was just it. And I said, and, I believe that, I guess, coming from the horse's mouth. But
that was another hire I forgot to mention when we spoke last week, because Napier was a guy I thought would be interesting. But Bill Clark, when Napier allegedly turned the job down, I thought, go after Bill Clark. I mean, he's Alabama born and raised. Like, he's from Alabama, played at Jack State, coached at Jack State, obviously UAB. He's from the high school level. He's the one who built up Prattville High School. We know Prattville very well from our Hoover days. Great program, not so much anymore, but great program when he was there and the years that followed. I thought he would have been a great fit. He clearly knows Alabama high school football. He can't get everyone, because Alabama's going to get a lot, but he could get guys who might leave to go to LSU, Georgia, anywhere else in the state of Alabama. So I thought that would have been interesting.
Yeah, that was I was talking to my dad, obviously, about a lot of this stuff, and my dad's as big an Auburn guy as I am. And he, immediately when we fired Gus, he said, go pay Bill Clark whatever he wants. Because he knows the ins and outs of the state of Alabama and football better than just about anybody on the planet. I would say, and he's had success. He was a head coach for Jacksonville State for 1 year.
Yeah.
And I believe they made it to the quarterfinals or the semifinals.
They made it deep. I remember, because I believe our classmate Blake Burks was on that team, and they made it to about the quarterfinals, semifinals, something like that.
And has worked a minor miracle at UAB.
Yes, I mean, considering
after Bear Bryant Jr. axed his program.
Yeah, he was the head coach in 2014. Not a great record. Might have been 6-6. I don't remember. Then they shut the program down for 2 years, and then in 2017, I believe they came back, finished about 8-4, and then since then it's been, I think, like 10 wins, 11 wins, 9 wins, and then this year, who knows what would have happened with a longer season, but finished 6-3. He's now won the Conference USA 2 out of 3 years. I think he's a coach I would, if I was a Power 5 school, I'd take a chance on.
Yeah, I think he's going to get a job eventually. I think this would have been a good spot for him. I'm certainly not saying that I would take him over Bryan Harsin.
Yeah,
I think Harsin. I think we just weren't thinking of Bryan Harsin.
Yeah,
because why would we? He's a Boise State lifer.
Exactly, and I was just about to get into more of Bryan Harsin here.
Yeah, and so there was just the coaching search in a whole was just was a disaster until it wasn't. And I think at the end of the day, our AD, Alan Green, did a phenomenal job of saying, you know what, this is my athletic department. I'm not going to let Jimmy Rain and Bobby Louder and all these dumbass idiots that are boosters or on the board of trustees, I'm not going to let them pick my coach. This is my job. You can pay me if you want. We're going to have money either way. I'm going to go get the guy I think is best for the job, and he got it in Bryan Harsin. I think Alan Green and Dr. Jay Gouge, who's our president, did an incredible job of saying, enough with this dumb bullshit. We're going to get the guy we think is best for the job, and Bryan Harsin is that.
So, go back to Bryan Harsin here. I don't know if it actually went this way or not. Likely not. They were probably always in touch with Bryan Harsin and just kept it under wraps. But it's just one of those guys that might have been like, wait, can we actually get this guy? Because the reason why I bring that up is because he's from Boise, played high school football in Boise, not like he moved away, played at Boise State, and kind of bounced around coaching. Then now he's been at Boise State, his alma mater, for a while, making decent money, almost $2 million. Obviously, Auburn can go way past that. So I'm not totally shocked that he left. It's very similar, honestly, to when Bronco Mendenhall left BYU for Virginia.
BYU, yeah.
Because he's, I think, from Utah, went to BYU, Mormon. I'm still shocked he left BYU, but took more money to come to Virginia. And he's done well. And it's very similar, in my opinion.
It does. There is a lot of parallels to that particular church. I didn't even think about that. He said in his kind of opening statement, or it may have been in like an interview he did either last night or early this morning, that it would take something special to get him out of Boise. And I think obviously the money may play a picture. I mean, we were paying Gus, I believe it was $6.75 million, maybe $7 million a year.
I doubt they're giving Harsin that much. It might be close to 4 or 5.
Bryan Harsin that quite yet.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me if it came out we're paying him $4.5 million a year.
Shit, dude. Brett Bielema's making $4 million a year at Illinois right now. You would think Harsin's right up there. If
Brett's making 4.5,
makes me feel really good about paying Neil Brown only about $3.1 million.
Yeah, that's a steal. I think he comes cheap. His buyout's like $250,000 at Boise State. Yeah. I mean, the more you look at it, the more at least I look at it, the more it makes a lot of sense in terms of, financially it makes sense. We're not paying some astronomical Power 5 buyout. We're not paying, he won't command $8.5, $9 million a year like maybe some Power 5 guy would that's already making $4.5, $5 million. It's and on top of a football coach. I mean, and I think the main thing that I'll be looking for is, and to kind of delve deeper into this, because the whole thing with Bill Clark and Billy Napier, there was some reports that they weren't going to be able to hire the staff that they wanted. According to everything I'm seeing, Harsin is going to be able to do that with his own staff. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of staff he brings in. If he brings in a guy that's a spread, throw the ball, all the talent we have outside, or if he's more of a balanced guy, which is what he's been running at Boise State. 200 yards a game running, 200 yards a game passing, a really balanced offense, run the ball, throw it when you got to, play good enough defense and win ball games. Not flashy, not 10-9 or not 55-51, but do what you got to do to win ball games. And like I said, it'll be interesting to see kind of what his philosophy is going forward, because he just hasn't had. He was OC at Texas for 2 years before I believe he took the Arkansas State head job.
And that was another thing. He has a little bit of experience in the Southeast, at least.
He had a little bit, but he, that what he was working with at Texas.
Uh-oh. He must be going through a rough patch of cell service.
But kind of what his philosophy is. whether it's more of a West Coast type or he kind of spreads it out and runs it wide open.
So you went out there for a little bit. I only caught the tail end.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I was just kind of talking about the philosophy that obviously bringing in his own staff. It'll be interesting to see what his philosophy is and what what kind of offense we'll be running. Whether it's going to be wide open, spread them out, score as much as you can, or if it's going to be more pro.
I'm not going to ask you again. You went out again, so I'm not going to ask you to say anything. I'm just going to assume you're talking about style offenses.
In Arkansas.
Yeah. What I think is also very interesting.
What kind of offense he's going to have.
Yeah. What I think is also very interesting is after Malzahn left Arkansas State for Auburn, he replaced him at Arkansas State, then was there for a year, went to Boise State. Almost said BYU. Now Malzahn's out at Auburn, and he replaces him at Auburn.
And Harson's coming. Yeah. The circle completes itself.
Yeah. I like him considering the mess of a coaching search that this is. I think this is a solid hire. I think he might have a hard time originally, trying to recruit that area. But like I've said, I think that's kind of overrated. You can get guys on your staff that are familiar with that area because they're the one. Like, let's be honest, the assistants are the ones doing most of the recruiting. The head coach is just the closer, basically.
Yeah, and I think the big thing to watch is to see if he does keep a few assistants from this staff, because we have 3 or 4 guys that are just incredible recruiters and also decent to good position coaches. So it'll be interesting to see if he keeps a guy like Travis Williams, who's our linebacker coach. If he keeps a guy like Parnell Williams, who is our running backs coach. If he keeps a guy like Wesley McGriff, who coaches the secondary. Jeff Picknell, who coaches the offensive line. These guys can recruit. They can develop. And they know the area well. So it'll be interesting to see if he keeps guys like that on the staff and then fills in with his guys. If he wants to go and get one of his guys as an OC or a DC, that's fine. As his staff fills out, I'll be interested to see kind of how that looks in terms of recruiting, in terms of areas, and in terms of development talent.
Do you think he's going to retain Kevin Steele?
I don't think he can. I think after everything that's happened, I think Kevin Steele is at a bit of an end with the athletic department, because he, having not gotten this head coaching job probably twice now. First when they extended Gus in the first place, and then this time, I just don't think you can keep Kevin Steele. I would love to keep Kevin Steele. He's a great defensive coordinator, but I just think I just don't see a way where he would be happy to be on this guy's staff.
Especially being passed over when he was allegedly the front runner for the first few days.
Right, exactly. So it'll be interesting to see if a guy like Will Muschamp pops up as a name that could come to be a DC. Or, like I said, he's got his own. I'm sure he's got his own guys that he can call and
I was
say,
about to ask,
for me at Auburn.
Has he said which guys he's bringing over or could be bringing over from Boise State?
I haven't seen anything. I've kind of been at work and getting ready and traveling all day, so I haven't really seen anything.
I love this time. When Brown came over, it was just super exciting to see who all he was bringing.
Yeah,
what names were linked to the jobs, and
it's an exciting time. It's it's kind of a hold your breath and see what happens kind of time. So I don't know. I would love if Kellen Moore came over and was our offensive coordinator, but I think he's probably the front runner for the job at Boise State now. So
is he really? That's interesting.
That's what I saw on the internet, just kind of poking around. But it's just it'll be interesting to see like what kind of staff he puts together. Whether it's whether he goes and finds guys that are up and coming, or if he gets a couple of guys that are.
Lost him again. Son of a gun. Shit. Yep. Shit. There we go. Hang on. All right. I lost you again. I was just saying I lost you again.
Yeah. We are in the boonies. Yeah, we are in the boonies.
Well, I shouldn't say it, but one guy, I know only one, other than Kevin Steele, one guy on Auburn's staff, and I shouldn't say that I'm hoping that he leaves or doesn't get retained, because that seems like I'm hoping that he doesn't have a job, but that's not the case. I'm hoping that he doesn't get retained because I want him to come back to West Virginia, and that's Al Pogue. I love Coach Pogue.
Al Pogue, yeah.
He was one of the nicest guys. I mean, everyone on WVU's staff when I interned there last year was super nice. But he was a guy, he brought an energy to the building. He was just fun, one of those guys that was fun to be around. And he left after 1 year at WVU to go back to Auburn, which was home for him. I have no problem. Believe me, I'm a big advocate for going home if you want. I have no problem with that. And it sounded like it really hurt him to leave Brown for Auburn. But I'm hoping, because the position that he left WVU to come to Auburn for, or the position that he left, is still open. The guy that we hired, there was a big thing in the offseason. We hired a guy to replace him from Western Michigan. And then with the whole Vic Koenig, defensive coordinator, great, now I lost him. Did you hear anything that I just said?
Oh, yeah.
What was that?
You were talking about Coach Pogue. And then,
I was saying
hired, and I watched it.
The position that he had at WVU is pretty much still open, which is like an outside linebacker. It's more of a safeties coach, like the way the defense is run. It's more of like this hybrid safety position, which is basically his background in corners and secondary. But the guy that we hired took over the safeties after Vic Koenig. God damn it, dude! He's gonna have to figure this out. Or we're just going to have to call it quits. Shit, a shark. Oh, boy. Now I've lost him completely.
You got me?
Yeah, I do. I just can't see you. It still says poor connection. Well, not anymore.
Yeah.
That's a little better. All right. Did you get a phone call or something?
Do what?
I said, did you get a phone call? Thought I heard a phone call.
Yeah, Sarah's phone rang, I believe.
You're just going in and out. Anyway, what I was saying.
Yeah.
After Vic Koenig left, the defensive coordinator, due to some bullshit claims from a player, the guy that we hired to replace Pogue took over at safety, so that position's still open. I'm hoping we can bring him back. But if not, I totally get it. You know, I'm not big on just recycling guys that you've already had. Go out and get someone new if you want.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. It'll just, like I said, it'll just be interesting to see kind of what kind of staff he puts together. I think there's obviously a lot of coaching talent in and around the South and in and around the NCAA. So, he'll be able to put one together. It'll just be whether or not that staff can recruit and develop and do everything that needs to be done in the SEC. So,
yeah, I'm just curious. I don't know what else to say other than this is the best hire of the coaching carousel. There weren't very many jobs open to begin with, but
Yeah, I think, like we said on last week, I think us being the premier job really helped us out in being able to find that guy that we really want. If we had waited and Tennessee had come open or Michigan had come open,
I don't think Tennessee's out of the question still. Even though
I don't know if getting Bryan Harsin would have been possible. So that's why I was so big on acting quickly and acting, while we were the best option. So like you said, it's the best hire of this coaching carousel. I think it's probably pretty close to one of the best hires we could have made, reasonably. So I'm all for it. As soon as he puts together a staff, let's go play a bowl game on New Year's Day and let's get after it. Let's go win an SEC title next year.
Do you think that – I don't know. I'm not familiar with Auburn. What all do they have coming back? Do you think he could have a very successful first season? Depending – I don't know. He still got to put a staff together, but –
So this year is a little bit different in terms of, like, who we have coming back. Who I know is coming back, quarterback's coming back, running back is coming back, a lot of experience on the offensive line, a pretty decent amount of experience on the defensive line, both your starting linebackers, probably all of your secondary. We might lose one, maybe two, depending on whether or not somebody thinks they can draft Roger McCreary, who's been a really good cornerback for us. And then it all kind of depends on skill guys. We've got a lot of receivers that could go to the draft or could come back. We've got a lot of guys that are seniors that could come back in that receiving core, and we've got some guys that are coming in. That,
and don't forget, I was about to say, don't forget about COVID red shirts. I mean, I don't think it'll be that much.
I don't know. I think Seth Williams is gone. I think he's going to be a first-round draft pick or, one of the top receivers taken, after all the Alabama players that come out and Clemson players. But I think Seth Williams is gone. It wouldn't surprise me if Anthony Schwartz is gone, though he could come back and really improve his draft status. Eli Stove is a senior, so he could come back. He's been at Auburn for 912 years. But this would be his 6th year at Auburn. So he could technically come back, play another year for us. I'm trying to think of some other guys. We've got a lot coming back. I don't see why he couldn't be successful. So we'll just see. It'll depend on who leaves and who comes in.
Who were you just talking about? You went out again.
Tank Bigsby, our running back, SEC Freshman of the Year, will probably be the best running back in the conference. If not next year, before he leaves, he'll be the best running back in the conference. So, once Najee Harris and Larry Roundtree at Mizzou leave, he'll be the best running back in the conference.
I feel like there's something else I was going to talk about, but I forgot. Anyway, like I said, I think it's a very out-of-the-box hire, which I like for Auburn. Like you said, Auburn has, to piggyback off what I was saying, has recycled a lot of names, guys that they know. And I do commend this athletic director for finally just being like, you know what, I'm going to get my guy who has no ties to Auburn. And my brother and I talked about it last night. He hates it. He thinks it's a huge mistake for Auburn just because he has no experience in the South and the SEC. I can get that. Maybe this is too big of a jump for him. Possibly. I think that's a really good possibility. Should he have probably – I shouldn't say should he, but it would have been better maybe to go to a lower Power 5 school like a Wake Forest. Not the Wake Forest, but Hiram. Dave Clawson's done a good job. But, one of those lesser – Power 5 schools that he can get some momentum. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I get that, but with coaching hires and searches and all that, it's kind of a crapshoot unless I was listening to a podcast. There's 3 guys on the planet that I would hire and be like, okay, we're absolutely 100% going to be a success One of them coaches in Tuscaloosa, one of them coaches in Clemson, and Urban Meyer is doing whatever.
Urban Meyer's not going anywhere.
Like, I mean, it's either there's 3 guys on the planet that I would say, if we hired that guy, we're going to win national championships. It's a guarantee. And none of those guys are going to come to Auburn. So it's a crapshoot. He very well could be very successful, or he could not be successful. I mean, it's there's no guarantees in football, and I think it's just kind of a wait and see approach. We need to give him some time. We don't need to do all this stuff. We don't need to be all over him this first 2-3 years. I mean, give him time, get his program running the way he wants it to run, and then
I would still say
I think he'll have success.
He's probably the 3rd best coach in the SEC West already, maybe 4th.
SEC West has got a lot of good coaches.
Like I would argue, maybe 5th. I forgot about Leach, but Saban, you got Fisher.
Saban, Fisher
are the top 2 in my opinion. I think probably you could argue Lane Kiffin or Mike Leach, but I think Harsin, you could make an argument to be above both of those guys.
I think you can make an argument to be above them. The argument I'm seeing is where do you rank him behind or in front of Ed Orgeron?
I'm not an Orgeron guy.
Orgeron's weird, and he's won a national championship. He's been on successful staffs.
Come on. Look, I get that. He did win a national championship, but
I think he's top tier. I mean, top half of the SEC. Whether that means that he's 5th in his division, like a lot of times happens, it might be the case. But
I'm not a believer in him. He was surrounded with talent with that LSU team last year. He had Joe Brady as an offensive coordinator, who I think is going to be could be a head coach as soon as this coaching carousel, but maybe a year or 2 away. I just don't buy it. I don't know. I've never been an Orgeron guy.
Could be.
Another thing.
I mean, you can absolutely make that argument.
Another thing I thought was interesting about this was, and I talked about this with James just right before I got on the phone with you, I think it's a possibility that what made this coaching search such a mess is because I think, not that coaches were scared, but it's not a good look, I think, when you let go of a guy who won, 65, 70, like Malzahn, who won 65, 70% of his games at Auburn, most successful coach against Nick Saban, and you let him walk. You let him go. Not that coaches are scared of that, because I think a lot of coaches have an ego about them that I can win wherever, and they're not afraid of competition. But I think that's definitely a factor. Like, if I don't get this done in 3 years, like, why would I take this job? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
I should say it turned them off. It turned them off. If there were bigger names out there interested.
I still agree that it was a bad look to fire Gus in the first place.
I would have waited until after COVID.
I mean, yeah. So, I can see where you're coming from. Like you said, though, coaches have that ego and that aura about them. Like, I must succeed. Like, what else am I gonna? Yeah. I'm not gonna fail here. Like,
right.
Everything's gonna work out. It's gonna be fine. And so I think, I don't know.
Because I think my theory is that I do think Auburn wanted Billy Napier. I mean, that's clear, and I think Napier would have been a good fit. My personal theory is that Napier was turned off a little bit with Auburn, and on top of that, he's from Tennessee. I personally think he's waiting for the shoe to drop on Jeremy Pruitt at Tennessee.
I think he's gonna have to fight Hugh Freeze for that job. But
maybe, but I think he's holding off because you can't really go from one SEC power to another. Not really. It's a bad look. You know what I mean?
I agree. Yeah.
So he probably held off. He's waiting for next year, maybe. Bill Clark, I genuinely don't think the fan base, maybe outside of the ones with brains like you, were fired up about Bill Clark.
Yeah, I was accused. I was talking to the guys I went to college with. I was accused of being like, of course, the Birmingham guy would want Bill Clark. Like, well, yeah, I've been in Birmingham. I'm from there. I know how good a coach Bill Clark
is. Look, I'm not trying to be an asshole up to UAB. I got nothing against UAB. No one cares about UAB. Even in the Birmingham area. Maybe downtown Birmingham, but no one cares. It's Alabama, Auburn.
That's a good point. That is very true.
But
I mean, I don't know. I'm excited about the hire. Let's put it.
Venables was another name I thought was a long shot at best.
Yeah, it seems like Venables just doesn't want to be a head coach. I mean,
if he does, I think he's waiting until his sons leave Clemson.
He's turned down so many opportunities. I don't know if he wants to be a head coach.
Some don't. I mean, there
seems to want to hire him.
There's a dude on West Virginia staff right now who has said point blank, like, I have no interest in being a head coach. All I want is to be a defensive coordinator at a Power 5 level. Yeah. Some are like that, and I have there's nothing wrong with that. Head coach is a lot of responsibility.
You know what you want?
So let's shift gears here. One thing I do want to talk about on this podcast that was massive, non-sports related, is The Mandalorian.
Yes.
And you are a Mandalorian fan. Are we allowed to talk Mandalorian with your wife in the car? Is she a fan?
She is. She's not anywhere near where we are, but
so she doesn't care if we talk about
not listen. We're talking about The Mandalorian. Huh? She's on Twitter enough, so she knows.
So she knows what happened?
Basically.
Okay, so let's talk about this. There are a handful of shows that I have seen really crank it up from season 1 to season 2. Game of Thrones was one of them. I argue for Jack Ryan. I know you're a Jack Ryan guy. I thought season 2 was great. Other people didn't. I thought it cranked it up to another level. Did you?
Yeah, I think we both thought Jack Ryan from season 1 to season 2 really cranked it up. She really liked Jack Ryan.
There are a lot of shows, not a lot, but there are a few shows like that I thought really did that. The Mandalorian is one of them. I would not have imagined season 2 being as good as it was. Season 2 was fantastic. Season 1 was great. Season 2 was fantastic.
Absolutely incredible.
It's just really, this is so refreshing because I'm a Star Wars fan. All we've really experienced is the Skywalker saga, which has been shat on with the sequel trilogy. Let's be honest. I'm not a fan of the sequel. If you had told me after The Force Awakens came out that would be the best one, probably of the trilogy, I would have been very disappointed to hear that. Because I wasn't really a fan of The Force Awakens. I thought it was all right.
We have some differing opinions on the sequel trilogy, I think.
I'll say this. I think The Last Jedi was misunderstood.
Yes, definitely. And they should have never let another director direct.
Ryan, look, with the success of Knives Out, I don't mean to keep interrupting you. With the success of Knives Out, Rian Johnson wasn't the problem with The Last Jedi. He tried to bring something new to Star Wars, and the fans hated it.
We're probably right.
That's just my personal opinion. But now, it does seem like, though, that Jon Favreau, who I'm a big fan of, has brought together these new Star Wars fans and the old, classic Star Wars fans who were probably teenagers when the original trilogy came out and have seen this prequel trilogy suck. They've seen, prequel trilogy. The first 2 were bad. The third one I like. Sequel trilogy being underwhelming, I'll say. Then Rogue One was good. I think Solo was underrated, but they've been kind of disappointing. For the most part, these new Star Wars installments have been disappointing. But The Mandalorian has brought, I think, everyone together. Would you agree with that? Yeah.
Totally.
But it's just so refreshing to have a character that no one knew anything about. No one knew anything about The Mandalorian. Brand new character. So refreshing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Favreau can go in any direction he wants with it, and that's what he's done.
Yeah, he's now created let's call it what it is, an MCU type.
Yes.
Fan effect.
Yes.
From Mandalorian. I mean, they just launched 4 different shows within the Mandalorians.
Was it 4? I thought it was 2.
Canon.
But then
was
3.
2 or 3?
They announced 2, but then with the ending of, let's just go ahead and say, at the end of season 2 of The Mandalorian, that it was announced that there's a Boba Fett show coming out, which I will say I was genuinely worried that Boba Fett was taking over The Mandalorian, and I was going to lose interest.
Yeah, I'm glad that he's getting his own show. I think there's so much more that can be explored with The Mandalorian. Obviously, it's going to be going in a completely different direction now that he's done what he wanted to do with Baby Yoda, with Little Grogu.
Little Grogu.
So it'll be a different direction. You would have to assume, but
I think it goes. I'll go ahead and give a prediction. I think it goes back.
There's so much story that can be told.
Yeah.
And if they keep with this level of, of how great it's been, then there's no, they don't have a ceiling. I mean, this thing can get as big as it wants to get.
I've heard them say that they have 5 seasons planned right now.
I can see that.
I think I've read that. When I was watching the end of the season 2 finale, like I said, I was worried that they were shifting gears from Din Djarin, because you could have argued that his story was now over. Though I was at the same time I was telling myself, like, this isn't a resolution for him. Like, this isn't a good. It's a great ending for Grogu, and it was a heartbreaking ending. Don't get me wrong; it tugged at my heartstrings. But like, this is no resolution for Din Djarin and his conflict with Moff Gideon, droids, and
droids in general,
Bo-Katan, and all that. I was like, we can't just let that go unresolved. Like, we need more.
There's certainly more that can be told, and like I said, there's so many now that they've fanned out, and everything's gonna be woven into one another. And there's just so much that can be that can be explored, and I hope will be explored. Let's see if Sarah can not get in a wreck here. The lady in the Buick is really harshing my vibe here.
So what direction do you think they go in going forward?
I think you've got to explore the story that was started this season with Bo-Katan and the return to Mandalore. I think is an option you can have. Obviously, the conflict with Moff Gideon. While Moff Gideon doesn't have the Darksaber anymore, that conflict doesn't just miraculously disappear. I mean, Moff Gideon's still a piece of shit, and
By the way, I think his name is Giancarlo Esposito. Is that the actor's name?
Yeah.
Is there a better villain out there, maybe other than Christoph Waltz, than Giancarlo Esposito?
What happens with Moff Gideon building up into what will become the First Order, and I think that will be
I didn't catch any of that.
Arkansas Snakes. The short version of that is where we are in the timeline. Everything's gonna be building toward the First Order and where it was at the beginning of The Force Awakens. So Moff Gideon will probably very obviously have a role in that, and everything building toward that is definitely something that I would like to see.
I think I completely agree. That's the direction they're going in. They're going to establish the First Order, and I think you're looking at Moff Gideon being like the founder, or helping Snoke found it, because clearly he's gone by the time the sequel trilogy rolls around. So he's going to be done at some point. But that's something I think they might tackle. I don't know about season 4 or 5. Maybe that's how they end it. I don't know. But that's clearly one direction. Probably going to be an entire season devoted to that. Then you have, in my opinion, what else is going to happen is the restoration of Mandalore. That's going to happen.
Yeah, that's the other main story arc that I think has to be resolved. They started it for a reason. That's got to be resolved.
Yeah, I agree. And you're going to see Bo-Katan and Din Djarin at odds, and I think it's gonna end with kind of this outsider Din Djarin as the ruler of Mandalore. That's at least the way it looks right now.
Yeah, I can totally see that.
It would be better. It's a little too obvious, but I think Din Djarin lives up to the Mandalorian creed, as we found out, not a race, than the heiress of Mandalore.
Not a race, the creed. I would have to agree with you.
There was something else I was going to talk about. Let's talk about, did you believe that a Jedi was going to show up at the end of Season 2 to help them? Or to take Baby Yoda / Grogu?
I did. I wasn't sure if it was going to be like somebody we knew or if they were going to introduce a new... Luke showing up absolutely took me.
Yeah, I did not expect that at all.
I mean, I did not expect it to be Luke.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be... The outside chance was that Ahsoka, whatever her name is, Ahsoka Tano,
yeah,
would change her mind. Like, that was kind of the wild card for me.
Right.
It would have been very underwhelming, though. The one I was hoping for was Cal Kestis from the video game Jedi Fallen Order, and I thought it might have happened. I really thought it was going to happen. And then the other, probably the favorite for me, was it was going to be someone new.
Yeah. I was halfway hoping for them to introduce a new character.
Yes.
But I certainly am not.
I was like you. I was 50-50, Cal Kestis or someone new. Someone new would be more interesting, in my opinion.
Right. But I was certainly not upset at what transpired.
Yes. And there was something else. When I saw the green lightsaber, and it still didn't click with me. I was like, who could this be? Because, if you played Jedi Fallen Order, I was like, well, Cal Kestis, you can change the lightsaber in the video game, but he's more of a blue lightsaber. That's what's featured on the cover, and cut scenes and stuff is a blue lightsaber. Mm-hmm. Commercials even. I was like, so it's probably not him unless they change it up. So then at that point, I was like, it's got to be someone new. Until I saw him raise his right hand. When he saw that it was covered, I was like, "Oh no! I know who that is."
So originally, my wild thought when I first saw the green lightsaber, I was like, "Oh my god, it's Obi-Wan Kenobi!"
I didn't. Well, he's dead. Come on, dude, he's dead. Did that not register? The way the timeline is.
Yes. I was getting there. Shame.
Okay, I apologize.
And then I was like, oh wait, never mind, he's dead. So I was like, okay, it's gotta be Luke. And then, like you said, he raised his hand and showed the glove, and then he put the hood down.
Well, and there was something else when he's fighting when he's fighting the Dark Troopers in that hallway before he entered. You saw a little bit of his wardrobe, and it looked like that black turtleneck kind of outfit that he wore in Return of the Jedi. So I was also like, oh my, I think this is Luke Skywalker. And then you just wait, and you're waiting, and then he lifts the hood, and you're like, oh my god, it's him. And I don't know why it didn't register with any of us to just do what Rogue One did and CGI the shit out of someone's face and have a young Mark Hamill's face instead of just getting a new actor.
Yeah, I don't know why we didn't think of that.
Yeah, because everyone was like, get Sebastian Stan. Yeah, who's the Winter Soldier, and
that's why we don't make $1 bajillion.
Yeah, which I saw something today. I don't know if you've seen me post it on Facebook. I saw something today, some nobody blog, claiming that Disney Plus is developing a Luke Skywalker series now, and I wanted to flip my desk and say, there is a series. It's called the Original Trilogy.
Yeah, it's called A New Hope, and then Empire Strikes Back, and then Return of the Jedi.
Yeah,
that's what the Luke Skywalker series is.
It reminded me of there was a meme that William sent us, and it was the conflict between Anakin and Obi-Wan in Revenge of the Sith with the dialogue changed, and Anakin saying, "I want my spinoff," and Obi-Wan says, "Your own spinoff? The entire saga is your spinoff." That's what it made me think of that. So I guess the show you might have been thinking of was Obi-Wan, but I don't think that's connected to The Mandalorian.
No, I don't think it is either.
Yeah. Right now, I think it's just Ahsoka Tano show, the Rangers of the New Republic, which no one knows what that's about. I'm very much looking forward to that, and then the Boba Fett show.
Yep.
Very interesting.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I don't know.
I'm not super excited about the Boba Fett show.
Sitting around watching the next 5 years.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny that you mentioned Jon Favreau, that he was making an MCU, because he started the MCU.
Yeah, he did.
That didn't register to me.
Yeah, he is. He started the 2 largest media franchises of all time. I mean, absolutely bonkers what he's put together in the past 20 years.
One other prediction I wanted to make was, I think season 3 at the beginning kind of sort of will go back to its roots with Din Djarin being a bounty hunter.
Yeah, I like the idea of them kind of returning to the spaghetti western.
Yes.
The theme, you know.
Well, that's what it should be. You know, like the first 4 or 5 episodes should be about that. You know, the Western genre of him going to a new town, which is a planet in Star Wars, and helping the locals. You know what I mean? And then, because clearly, like, the last 3 episodes are going to be Star Wars universe related, which I have no problem with. It's a Star Wars show.
Yeah.
And it's going to be woven into the plot lines of the Star Wars universe.
Yeah. I like that. I like it because it's a little bit different than, you know, it's different than the trilogy. Any of the trilogies, it's, you know, they really, the first season, I mean, the majority of it, they really leaned into that spaghetti western theme. They were jumping around and going everywhere and this, there, and everywhere. So I really hope that, at least for a little bit, they kind of return to that.
With Baby Yoda gone, there is kind of sort of a resolution. You know, like, Baby Yoda is gone, or Grogu. Moff Gideon is in custody for now. So there's reason to believe, I think, that it's going to go back to its roots.
Right.
Things kind of go back to normal. He's back to being a bounty hunter. Though, isn't he out of the guild? Although I assume Carl Weathers can fix that.
Carl Weathers can do anything, and I'm assuming he can fix it,
yeah. So I would assume it's going to come down to that. And my guess is we're going to be introduced to Snoke, and he's going to break Moff Gideon out of, like, a New Republic prison. And then Cara Dune and everyone comes to the Mandalorian and be like, hey, Moff Gideon's out.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I want more Bill Burr as well.
Oh, I want him to get his own show.
I couldn't tell you what his character's name. He's kind of like Carl Weathers.
Mayfield is his show, or Mayfeld.
His character name is just Bill Burr. I want more of him. If he's got to, you know, bumble around and do. I
want to know where in the galaxy is that Boston accent. Where are the characters that talk in Boston accents? But no, he's a very interesting character, especially that episode when they broke into the Imperial base. Fuck. There we go. No, like I was saying, I think he's a very compelling character. You learned a lot more about him.
Stop. It should be fine.
What was that? God damn it.
Apparently, up above us, there was a tanker that exploded.
Oh my.
In front of us.
So
there was a tanker that blew up, and there's now fire on both sides of the road.
Oh boy.
So.
And maybe just one because like there's cars coming from the other side.
This should be fun.
Well, Jesus Christ. But anyway, like I was saying, I won't keep it too much longer, but I think Mayfield's a very compelling character. You learned a lot about him in that Imperial base episode when they broke in and tried to steal that information. He fought for the Empire, but he's clearly no fan of the Empire.
Yeah, definitely. He's a detractor. I guess he's a, like you said, no fan of what they're doing over there, but he's not really a fight for one side kind of guy. Kind of does his own thing.
And I think he would make a great. I would watch that TV show in a heartbeat if he gets his own show. I hope he does.
Like a buddy cop with him and
and then again, he may just be better off as someone the Mandalorian goes to for help, or vice versa. Once every season. You know what I mean?
I'd totally be okay with that. I just want more of Bill Burr.
Yeah, if it's a couple times a season, I'd love that, honestly.
Yeah.
But he's a very interesting character. Anything else you want to add about the Mandalorian? Any predictions?
No, I think like I said, I think it's hurtling toward the New Order, or the First Order, space Nazis, the whole thing. So I think that's what we'll be seeing here in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I agree. All right, my man. I have kept you for about an hour. I'll let you go. I don't know why my brother keeps peeking in. I'll let you go, though. Merry Christmas. Did you get all your Christmas shopping done?
No.
You did not?
No, I did not. But we're almost there. We got to get a few things, and then we're good.
That doesn't sound good. That doesn't sound promising.
We'll be all right. Well, we have a little bit of... We've got everything we got everything for the people we're going to right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've got a couple of days to get stuff for people in Birmingham, so.
A couple of days?
We'll be all right.
When are you going to Birmingham?
Yeah, we're not going to Birmingham until New Year's Eve.
Okay. Yeah, you got time.
So, we got time.
All right. I'll let you go. Merry Christmas. Hope you all have a safe drive.
Bye, Daisy.
Yes, you must show the dog. Does she travel well?
Say bye, Daisy. No, she travels horribly.
All right. She is terrified.
Yeah, she hates it.
So. All right. You clearly got your hands full.
All right, take it easy, man.
All right, later.
Merry Christmas.